Up front, though, you mentioned, of course, that Anderlecht had utilised the loan market quite extensively, both incoming and outgoing. Um, and Lukas Nmecha has come in from Manchester City. Great record at under 23 level. He had in England, and then subsequently earned some loans. His first one being to Preston North End, where I think he got 3 goals in around 40 games. I can't say that I watched very much of Nmecha at Preston or his subsequent loan at Middlesbrough, but sort of going back through the X Files, it just seemed as though there was a player there who had the physicality to compete, but perhaps was just lacking the necessary gel to really make it. So I was interested to hear that obviously he got the loan move to Anderlecht, and even more intrigued to find that he's been, albeit scoring a few penalties, but he's been finding the back of the net quite regularly. Would you say that in the formation that Kompany plays, is this the system that you think is probably playing to Nmecha's physical strengths?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like what you said, he is clinical from the spot. And I think it's kind of unfortunate that a lot of his goals have just been penalties, because it takes away from like his all-round game. But yeah, he's like, when he came the first time, the first game I watched him play, I think it was away at Oostend, and it was the first time we saw an Anderlecht striker make a run in behind the whole season. I was like, finally, like someone that's going to stretch the play a bit. And that's what he does quite a bit. Like, he runs the channels really well for them. He likes to get on the ball. He likes to hold it up. He's quite good on the ball as well. And like you said, he's physical. So he's physical and he's got some technical ability. And I think I've watched him, like at the beginning he was quite selfish. So he'd get it and he'd kind of have like tunnel vision. I'm just going to run and try and shoot. And that just isn't, that's never going to work. Like, that might work at under 21 level, but when you make that step up, like, it's never going to work at the pro level. The other week they played Antwerp, and I watched the 90 minutes of that, and he didn't score, but I think it was his best game. Like, he held the ball up really well. He was really putting the defenders under a lot of pressure, running the channels, making the right passes. Like, his decision making just looked like it's got so much better. And Anderlecht fans absolutely love him at the moment. Obviously they can't be in the stadium, but they brought a banner out of the training ground basically begging him to stay for another year. And I kind of, yeah, he's kind of come out and said he wants to get a spot in the Man City team. He kind of said, obviously I understand Aguero is a better player than me, but that's what I want to do. I'm kind of sick of bouncing around. I just want to prove that I can make it at this level. But he's also said he's happy to come back to Anderlecht at the same time. So I think from like a development level, another season in Belgium could do him really good, because his confidence is sky high at the moment. You can see it, like the way he takes the penalties. You just don't think he's going to miss. Like, you can just see it on his face. He's a confidence player, and his all-round game outside of the penalties, like, I hope that just doesn't get ignored, because he has been so much better as the season's gone on.
Yeah, and it was something that I toyed with, because I hadn't actually seen a great deal of him at Anderlecht, and then I looked at his numbers and I thought, okay, he's got a lot of goals there, and then you actually dig into them and you see that around half of them are penalties, and you think it is that just like, oh well, they're all penalties, like, oh
Yeah,
that's a bit easy, isn't it? But first of all, in and of itself, it is it's a good attribute. There are plenty of players who don't score penalties at the sort of the expected rate, whereas he's pretty much putting every single one that has been put on his plate as an Anderlecht player. And just on that, really, what is it about Anderlecht in the way they play? Is it the individuality of Mukiri and Amuzu on the wings that is perhaps maybe getting more penalties than their competitors?
yeah, it's quite hard to kind of get at, like, why are they getting them so often. I think obviously with the advent of VAR, like, you're just getting more penalties anyway because things are getting picked up. But
Yeah, true.
I think as well, because it's weird, because they lack in creativity. So that's why I think he's a bit unfortunate in that, because they aren't as creative, they don't create as many chances for him as he would get in other leagues. So like, it's like, I've got this one chance, I better put these penalties away. So yeah, I think they do, because the way they keep the ball, like, they can just frustrate teams, and then they wait for your mistakes, I guess. And teams just seem to make a lot more mistakes against them in the box. And the games are tight as well. Like, a lot of the times, if they're winning, it's like 1-0 cagey games. So teams defensively are a little bit more on edge, because as the game goes on longer, they're a bit more like wary of making mistakes. They tighten up a bit, they get a bit more nervous, and Anderlecht seem to be able to exploit that. But Yeah, I think it's a shame for him that he hasn't scored more goals from open play, because like you said, when you look at the stats, you're like, oh, it's just penalty goals, and yeah, great composure, but what else do you bring to the table? But I think he definitely, if he wasn't there, they would struggle a lot more, especially going forward. I think he is the spearhead of the attack, and I've been really impressed with him.
Yeah, he's very much a focal point, and I'll tell you what, that's a bold call. I completely glossed over that before. The fact that he said he wants to, or at least he's insinuated that he wants to compete for a place at Manchester City. Which fair enough. You know what, I quite like that the player's got the confidence, and maybe it might not work out. But hey, at the end of the day, he's not exactly done himself any harm by scoring regularly in Belgium and sort of endearing himself to the fan base of one of Belgium's most well-supported clubs. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.